It is the year 1766, and three students at Harvard College in Cambridge, Massachusetts, have had enough of food that was on the verge of rotting being served in the mess halls. One of the three, Asa Dunbar, grandfather of philosopher Henry David Thoreau, jumped on a chair and shouted, "Behold, our butter stinketh. Give us therefore butter that stinketh not." Dunbar was punished for this, with school officials saying he could have instigated a riot, which that must have been rancid butter to instigate a riot, which Harvard acknowledged the butter was rotten. After Asa's punishment, the student body protested by walking out of the mess hall while cheering and finding food in Cambridge. The situation would continue like this for a month until the royal governor of Massachusetts, Sir Francis Bernard, addressed the students in the campus chapel, finally putting an end to the Butter Rebellion. The Butter Rebellion was the first of many student revolts, with half the student body leaving the school on strike in 1768. Riots had been taking place at the school again caused by food. However, these riots were unsuccessful, with harsh punishments doled out. More rioting would take place during the Revolution, sparked in 1775 when Tory classmates brought tea into the mess hall. 1780 would see the most successful student revolt, when students peacefully said their grievances against the college president, who resigned in response. In 1807, the Rotten Cabbage Rebellion took place, which saw students gather under an elm tree which came to be known as the Rebellion Tree. The students marched on the dining hall, demanding better food, but were unsuccessful, 17 being dismissed. 1818 would see the most legendary of the Harvard Uprisings. The rebellion began over a fight between the freshman and sophomore classes, which saw food, furniture, and dishes being thrown. The fight was eulogized by Junior Augustus Piers in the satirical poem, The Rebelliad, and thus arose a fearful battle. The coffee cups and saucers rattle, the bread bowls fly at woeful rate, and break many a learned pate. College officials cracked down on the sophomores, suspending 4 students over 2 days. On November 6, the sophomores met under the Rebellion Tree to protest, and college officials attempted to disperse the crowd, but were mocked. 5 more students were suspended that day, and 3 were temporarily expelled. Following this, the entire sophomore class, including future author and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson, called the suspensions tyranny and resigned. On November 9th, Harvard President John Kirkland called the Harvard Board together, formally expelling the entire sophomore class, save those who hadn't actively participated. Emerson was among those readmitted. Kirkland's attempts did not quell the rowdy behavior on campus, with fighting, tutor intimidation, binge drinking, and vandalism all being common, but Harvard was far from the only college with a student behavioral problem. Yale students were arming themselves, things became so violent there. Harvard wasn't quite that bad. In 1823, a dispute between 2 seniors escalated when college officials stepped in. The senior class met under the Rebellion Tree, ending with several days of rioting occurring, with students even dropping cannonballs out of windows and setting the yard on fire. 4 were suspended. The last of Harvard's nearly 70-year streak of rebellions occurred in 1834. In 1829, Kirkland was replaced by Josiah Quincy III, who solved student fights with a bullwhip. Needless to say, this caused resentment to build among students. In May of 1834, a freshman challenged a Greek instructor, having an anti-authoritarian tirade that spread throughout the school. A recitation room was burned, 2 night watchmen were assaulted, a bomb exploded in one of the chapels, and the students hung an effigy of Quincy from the Rebellion Tree, stuffing it with gunpowder and setting it on fire. It took 3 months to restore order, with the entire sophomore class being expelled again. What a bunch of rock stars. Alongside 6 freshmen, 1 junior, and 7 seniors. 3 students were also indicted with criminal charges. The Rebellion Tree was cut down, and Quincy held an iron grip on the university until 1845. The Butter Rebellion of 1766 was the first documented student revolt in American history. Harvard's legacy of rebelling against the establishment is still apparent today, with, recent events. Even though the Rebellion Tree is not there, nor is there any memorial, student protests were not just a modern thing. As a matter of fact, it's ingrained into the American mindset. Thanks for watching.